Hey, what's up? What's going on? This is your boy Damascus coming at you once again from the headquarters, and I am excited about the show today, man. We have on deck the CEO of Digital Radio Tracker, our boy Mike Matthews. He's gonna join us today. I'm just amped. I'm just amped up. Can you tell? All right, let's get into it, y'all.
Hey, you're tuned in to Above All Live Show, giving the scoop and the latest on how the story goes. Broadcasting from Vegas in case you didn't know. Worldwide Great Commission, that's the gospel. Discussing topics that standard is righteous living. Bumping them bangers and interviewing different Christians. Who's hot, who's not, does it really matter? It's his hop, non-stop, focus on the ladder. Stay tuned to the dial and turn that volume up. It's Faith Radio, Jesus is who we get to love. So in your ears, we gon' be here for a minute. It's my bro, Z-Bro, he bout to come with it.
All right. What's up, y'all? This is your boy Damascus coming at you from the headquarters. This is His Hot Radio Las Vegas, not far from the Las Vegas Strip, but we outshine each and every light on that strip. Why is that? Because we are the light of Las Vegas. We're shining the light of Christ throughout our city and throughout the nations, man. If you want your one-stop shop for Christian hip-hop right here, His Hot Radio, make sure you go out and download that app. And once you download the app, man, once you look out for a couple of promotions we have the new track of the week. If you want to get your song in heavy rotation, it's got to be a brand new cut. No one is heard. You know what I'm saying? We want to be the first to break it for you. New track of the week. We will play it in heavy rotation. We'll give your supporters a chance to vote for it, a chance to follow it, a chance to hear it, and let us know if this is something that we're going to keep in rotation. And also, once you are added to our rotation, tell your people to request your song. Then you will become the most requested song of the week. And once you get that status, then you are in another round of heavy rotation on the His Hop radio network. We are a reporting and a tracking station as well. We're trying to get you on the charts. And while you're doing all that, make sure you download our app on the Fire Stick, our television network. We are streaming 24/7, or more like on demand on the Fire Stick. So make sure you guys get up there, get on there, and do what you gotta do. Yeah, like I said, we got a great show in store for you. I can't wait to get my brother on here. He has a background in radio. He's been in, I guess we call it the terrestrial radio industry for years, and he made a transition to the digital radio. We call it internet radio, streaming radio. That's where he founded Digital Radio Tracker. He's going to give us all the info on that. And without any further delay, I'm going to welcome my brother Michael to the His Hop Radio Network. Brother Mike, how you doing, my brother?
Oh, man, doing great, doing great. Thank you so much for having me out. This is just exciting times. Outside obviously the pandemic and things we're dealing with, but I just like being here with His Hop Nation. I love what you're doing, and glad that you have us out to, just get a little bit more information out and get to know what you guys are doing over there.
Bro, thank you, man. Thank you. And I cannot tell you how much your support has. We appreciate your support, man. Every time I talk to you, you encourage me. You let me know what direction I should take this thing and how much this thing is needed. So I appreciate the fact that you just have that type of heart to do that, bro.
Oh, yeah, not a problem at all. Well, one of the things that...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, what I was going to say was one of the things that I'm thankful about, basically God brought us together. It was just, He reached out really almost out of nowhere, and we began to start building a relationship and speaking. We have been following the Christian hip hop movement for a long time now, and it is just great to see that there's like-minded individuals that want to come together to help build a strong voice for it, because there's just so much talent that's just underexposed. And that's one of the missions we have at DRT, is to continue to shine some light on that particular genre of music. I think it's very important to the industry, the music industry at large. I think it's beyond just growing to where it's about to bust through the seams, but it's going to take the right leadership. It's going to take companies like His Hop Nation to really kind of put it more at the forefront and really expose some of the talent. So we really appreciate what you're doing, and we just enjoy working with you guys and help creating a mutual voice. And let's see where we can take this.
Amen, amen. That is awesome. That is awesome, my brother. Yes, man. I'm like a sponge. You know, I'm definitely here to learn and here to execute the best plan, because we need it. We need it. I know this genre. We still have a lot of work to do to be taken serious. And I definitely appreciate the input and the support. Like you said, God has brought us together. So, real quick, I just want to get a little bit of your background. You've had a number of years in terrestrial radio. Can you just briefly just share that with us real quick?
Yeah, it's really have an extensive resume. I don't really like to name drop, but of course, obviously, a lot of people are familiar with a lot of the records, a lot of the names that we've worked over the years. I personally kind of got my start a little bit more in PR, doing more on-tour publicists and behind the scenes, with working with a lot of artists on the PR side, and that kind of grew from into management, and then from management into getting involved in promotions. I've been doing radio promotions for 27 years. We still, to this day, I own Dominion Global Marketing, or Dominion Global Inc., which is one of the industry's largest independent radio marketing companies, where we work with more than 300 terrestrial stations nationwide, as well as right there in Vegas as well. We have stations coast to coast that we work with in terms of branding and developing new sounds, new artists, getting new artists exposed, especially in the independent artist sector. We have a major label division as well as an independent label division, but we love developing the next tier of talent. So it's exciting. We've seen a lot of talent come through our hands. We've worked with some of the biggest acts to this day, from the Gwen Stefanis to the T-Pains, the Gucci Mans. It's the list kind of goes on and on when you're dealing with artists that from a foundation, when they very, very first start, and no one really even knows who they are, and you begin to build that brand and you begin to develop that talent. I just know, like, some of the records that have come across our desk that we thought wouldn't even be big hits. And you get out there and you start doing your thing and you start getting it played and you start connecting with people, and then you find out they become some of the biggest records out there. I mean, we've done everything from the Laffy Taffy to the I Smoke, I Drink to the Stanky Leg. I mean, there's been so many records that we've worked that, you're surprised. A Party Like a Rock Star. I mean, there's so many records over the years that I remember. It's like when you first get them, you don't really know what's going to happen. And then to see them blossom and do what they do, I think one of the kind of the more, I want to say more recent, because it's probably about 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, we had this kid, his first single out, didn't even have a record out before. Nobody ever heard of him, from Atlanta area. He was 18 years old at the time. We took the record and just got out there and started working at radio, started building his fan base, started creating awareness to him. And before we know it, in 4 or 5 he became more of a household name. He got a major deal with Epic Records, with Ellie Reed at the time, and that artist was Cashing Out. He had a big record called Cashing Out.
Okay.
And so it was really an interesting project, because when the label brought it to me, there was not one spin on it. There was not a mixtape. There was not one stream anywhere. There wasn't even social media pages. And to see that song independently go to gold and then get a major record deal and then go to platinum was just a whole different kind of feeling compared to, you know, when you're working a major artist, you already know kind of, well, there's already a fan base. There's already a certain amount of radio stations that are going to support it and so forth. So that's what we love to do here. We call incubate records. We love to introduce new music to the world and let the people decide. If it's a hit, it's a hit. If it's not, it's not.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. That's how it should be. You know, let the people decide. You know, the people, they'll gravitate to your music if they like what you're doing, and if you know, it connects with them. We well, I'm gonna say this. Now I'm gonna come at you in two different directions. One, of course, I'm a radio network owner, and also as the artist. You know what I mean? Like, what are we
Uh-huh.
doing wrong? How can we, as far as the CHH, how can we bring this more into the forefront? And I'm gonna ask you, let's say, as a Christian hip hop artist, what is the first thing I need to be doing to push this genre along?
That's an excellent question. I've had what I call the privilege to speak to several artists as well as individuals like yourself that are in that genre of music. One of the artists that I've had the what I call the benefit and privilege to have worked was the artist called Lecrae. And in his earlier years, and before he became you know, more of what we call a household name in the Christian hip hop movement. And there's been several artists like himself that I've been able to share a few words with and let them know that, hey, you know what, we want to do whatever we can to help support the movement. And it's just looking at what it's done over the last several years has been great, and I commend those like yourself that have stepped out there in the forefront and said, hey, I really believe in this, there's a culture for this, there's a base for this, but is it really going to get embraced by the industry at large? Is it really going to be that mainstay genre that the industry at large is going to say, hey, we're gonna fully accept, you know, where you're seeing all the various awards and so forth. Well, obviously that's going to take time. So to answer your question, it's about operating at what I call another level of faith. It's about being able to do the things that what everybody else is doing, but of course do it better. Being able to step outside of your comfort zone, just like what you're doing with His Hop Nation. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. You're saying, hey, wait a minute. I just don't want to do a station. I want to build a network. I want to create influence. And that's ultimately what it's going to take to build the brand. It's not just about building your brand. It's also about helping expose the culture of music that you love and making it more susceptible to the people. And what I mean by that is that you have to take on a different mindset. A lot of the individuals that we've spoken to, they're so busy worried about what we call the believers instead of just focusing on just good music, just putting the good music out there and allowing people to just take it in and be received. One of the things that I thought was very interesting, and I didn't even really know this, there's an artist called NF. I don't know if you ever heard of that artist,
Yeah.
but there's an artist called NF. Yeah, and I became a fan of his. Again, receiving his music from his label, and I became a fan of his, and I personally went to one of his shows, and I didn't even realize, I didn't even know that there's a whole positive movement behind him and his foundation. And he almost had, it really almost seemed to me like there was more from the whole more Christian hip hop side than there was from more the secular side of his show. And I didn't even know it. I was just there as a fan. And that's my point to you, is that when you're putting out good music,
Yes.
and people can appreciate it, it doesn't really matter what you're really, you know, in terms of your message and all of the other things that some of the artists that we've seen in the Christian hip hop movement, they stay so message oriented that they lose, to me, they lose their branding, they lose their focus on what it should really be about. Is let the people decide. We've been already talking about that this morning. Is let the people decide. Let people get involved like I did with NF and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to his show. I'm a fan now. Count on me. I'm going to tell others. And it doesn't matter if he comes with an extremely positive song or he comes with some street record. I couldn't care less. I'm a fan. And that's what it's got to be about. We've got to get to the point where it's got to get back to the music and not so much all of the politics that we all know exist in the industry. So that's what I have to say in terms of building the culture even more. And in order to do that, you've got to expose it more mainstream.
Okay. Now, I totally agree with that. I know that we gotta put out good music, just as good as what's out there, or even better. But we also have to try to market. Like how can I guess you answer that question. Market just the music, not just saying that we're going to be preaching heavy at our events, but we're going to bring fans to the event, and then we're going to show you that there's a positive movement behind it. I'm trying to sum up a little bit of what you just said, right? That's what you just shared?
Well, I'll elaborate a little bit further based upon what you're coming back saying here. I experienced something, and again, when you talk about marketing, it's not about copying anyone. It's not about it's about similar things. It's about an experience. It's about things that people can relate to. That's what marketing is. There's a big difference between marketing and promotion, and we can talk about that in maybe another segment as well. But what I'm referring to here is I experienced something else, and one of the things I like to talk about is real experiences. There's a secular rapper you might have heard of. His name is Kevin Gates. And I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's on Atlantic Records. And I can say it publicly. I'm not a fan. I was just going to talk to him, just going to meet him. And I went to a show when he came through town. Of course, this was before COVID. And I actually sat there because I wasn't getting a chance to meet him until after the show. And so I had to sit through the show. And to make a long story short, I witnessed something at Kevin Gates' concert that I've never seen at any concert I've ever been to in my life. And I've gone to thousands of shows. I've been on tour with a lot of artists, big and small and medium-sized as well. But one of the things that Kevin Gates did, and now mind you now, this is a secular rapper now. This is not a Christian hip-hop rapper. This is not someone that came from that background. So this is a secular rapper, rapping about everything in the streets, from drugs to you name it, he's rapping about it. And in the middle of his show, he stopped and he actually prayed for his audience. Oh. I've never witnessed that. I was dumbfounded, exactly, just like you just heard me say it, because you didn't understand. It was an experience, because here it was, Kevin Gates, and I'm telling you, in that moment, I became a fan of Kevin Gates. And now when I see him next time, I'm going to shake his hand in a whole different way than I did the first time I met him. And I have a whole newfound respect for Kevin Gates. He actually stopped and prayed for his fans that they would be safe and get home safe, and just prayed over them. It was an unbelievable moment. And here I was, I've gone to thousands of shows, and I've never witnessed something like this. And it wasn't for any reason whatsoever. It wasn't for something going on in his personal life or something that happened, a story. It wasn't during the pandemic. It was just, he stopped his show and said, yeah, I'm going to do something for you guys. And I'm going to pray. He prayed over his crowd. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because here is a secular artist that you wouldn't even expect to be doing something like that, and decided to pray for his audience, but yet you go to a Christian hip-hop show, and I'm not saying all, because I haven't been to many, but you have a lot of them that won't even do something like that. They won't even step out there and be proud of what they believe in, and be engaged and stand for what they believe in, and it doesn't matter who their audience is. And that's what Kevin Gates showed in that moment. He showed that it didn't matter. I mean, people were getting high, getting drunk, whatever it was, it didn't matter. He said, stop a minute. I'm going to pray for you guys. And it really just took my respect for him at another level. And I'm bringing that to say that that's what I believe a lot of the Christian hip-hop artists got to do. It's not about ramming what you believe down people's throat. It's about letting your light shine. Just be who you are and let people see the God in you. And that's usually what the problem is most people are so used to talking about the God up there and he's over there and he's, with this guy and with that guy. He lives in all of us.
Yeah.
And I think the more people realize that and the more people learn to walk in it in terms of this music industry, when it comes to the Christian hip hop movement, it's quit categorizing yourself. Even when we get a Digital Radio Tracker, we get artists that reach out and they say, well, I'm a gospel rapper. I've heard it all, every tag you can imagine. And I say, why are you even labeling yourself? And I try to tell them, I said, look, just put your music out. Let the people decide. Why are you categorizing yourself? So to answer your question, a big part of marketing yourself is learning to build a brand. You are a brand. Damascus, DeRoad, Hip Hop Nation, that is a brand. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. It's a brand. Kevin Gates was a brand, but he ministered to people.
Yes.
And he's ministered to thousands of people. And I'm not saying, I'm not judging anybody. I don't know if half his audience goes to church or not. It doesn't matter. But I tell you what, that night they heard from God. And sometimes that's what it's got to be about. It's got to be about stepping out of your box, your comfort zone, and being able to say, you know what, here I am. This is what I have to offer to the music industry as a whole. And I think as more and more artists begin to understand that and begin to market themselves as a brand instead of a belief system, then it becomes more gravitating for people to say, hey, wait a minute. Hey, if I want to, what do they call it, twerk or whatever they want to do, they can do it to whatever. It is what it is. It's not about this music is for this particular specific amount of people. I even heard something else that was very interesting from a Christian hip hop artist. When he had reached out, he was talking to us about booking shows. He was talking to us about getting more involved, a little bit more in this project outside of doing some radio work. And all he kept talking about was performing at church and churches. And I want to perform at some of the biggest churches all over the country, And all I kept thinking was, why are you limiting yourself? It's about lives. It's about people.
Yeah.
It's about get out and tell your story. So that means if you can go on tour with the Kevin Gates, the DMXs, the whoever, the Cardi B's, then go do that. What difference does it really make? Why do you have to feel like because you do positive, inspirational music, that you have to only be able to share your music with the church? And so that's just how I personally believe and how I feel that the genre can grow is when the mentality of the people within that genre begin to start thinking outside the box.
I love it. Okay. Story time. Is it all right? Can I tell a quick story? Because this goes right along with what you were saying. At one time, His Hot Radio, we were working closely with the local real MMA industry out here in Las Vegas. We would be on ringside. Now, this is not a Christian event. These are fighters. These are people, blood, sweat, and tears in the ring, right? Getting at it and stuff like that. And so we decided we want to be a light. What good is a light in a well lit room, right? So we went into into this thing with the partnership with them, and so I don't know how much you know about the His Hop Nation. It started off as a Christian nightclub, a Christian hip hop club, and so we had this 5,000 square foot club out here operating in Vegas. And so I said, you know what? The next time you guys have your weigh-ins, we want to invite you to our club, have them at our club. And this is all on YouTube and everything. So they said, okay, they accepted it and everything. So now we have them in our house. We had doctors in there. We had them, come up on stage and they would get weighed and do this and that and the other. Then right in the middle of it, we said, you know what? Now that we invited you in our house, we're going to give you an example of a little taste of what we do here every month. Because we were holding concerts every month out here in Vegas. And so we just went out, did a song. I did a song, and my boy Randy, he's a Spartan for Christ out here. We both had a song together, and I'm gonna tell you, I was nervous. Even though I was inside my club, I was nervous. I know we're talking about Christ, we're talking about Jesus. This is a mixed crowd, but we went out and did it, and lo and behold, the Christians that were in the crowd, they came and gravitated to us, and I got phone calls after, and a lot of people appreciated what we did. You know what I mean? So when you were saying that, that just reminded me of that event we had.
Exactly. And see, and like you said, that's probably probably one of your more successful events, I can say. Because what you did was you was able to reach. It wasn't about anything stereotypical or anything. It's, hey, you know what? This is an audience. I'm building my brand. I'm exposing my club. And I'm sure after that event, you had some new patrons at your club that probably had never been there until that event. And that's what it's about. And that's what we're talking about here on today's call is that it's about building your brand. It's about marketing yourself. It's not about getting caught up in everybody's judgmental stereotypes. In our ministry, Abundant Life Cathedral, the ministry that I go to, we're proud to say, my pastor even has signs up on the walls that say no judgment zone. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is that it is a no judgment zone, is that you have to build in a whole different way. It is a part of my personal ministry, and not to preach to your audience, but because everyone has a ministry. It's not about a preacher. It's everyone has a ministry. And I found myself around some of the, as we say, the lost that are within the music industry, and I don't have to preach to them. I don't have to invite them to my church. I don't have to give them a sermon. I don't have to say, here, listen to this message from last week. I don't have to do any of those things. All I have to do is just live, just keep living, and just allow my light to shine, allow me to be an example. And what I have actually witnessed is that there's even been some non-believers that they started gravitating to me. They started asking me, hey, wait a minute, what's that church you go to? Or why do you think like this? Or where did that come from? And when you start having different types of conversations, you start finding yourself, wait a minute, they start actually ministering to you, and they don't even realize that they're walking in the principles of God, but they just don't know it. So they refer to it in a whole different way. And I even had a gentleman tell me, well, that God you believe in, or what you believe in. And for years, he was saying things like that to me. And then after a period of time of just being my friend and just doing business with me and walking with me and so forth, I started finding himself saying, wait a minute. He started saying God, period, as if that's his God as well. And so it's a lot of things that start to transform. That's why I always tell people, just be transparent, be yourself, do what you do, and allow your light to shine, even if you don't see it as a light. Because I believe God uses all things, and all things mean everything, good and bad. And sometimes what we do is we only look for the good things. We want to be a good example. We want to do this, we want to do that, and we don't want anyone to see our flaws. And I think a lot of times as people begin to see your flaws, they see you're human just like them.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And, or some people are just in fear that, well, okay, God's going to whoop them because they went to a club last night, or they had a drink, or they did this, or they did that. And it becomes, like I said, a whole judgment cycle. So what we see, and trickling back to our subject here, is that with the Christian hip-hop movement, it can't be about the preaching. It's got to be about the light shining. And I think as that continues to happen, I think the genre is going to continue to grow more organically. And I think what it's going to be about, it's going to be about the lives, what it should be anyway. And it's not about the personal gain of the individual. As they say, it's the message. Yeah. The message is going to live beyond any individual artist. And I mean, there's a lot of artists now to this day that have passed and gone, but their music lives forever. And I think in this particular genre, I think as the artists begin to create another level of music, I'll call it like that, then what happens is people are going to be engaged at another level. Because what I've already experienced, and I didn't even know this till I started listening to a little bit more of the music that was coming through, almost every secular artist, there's literally a Christian hip-hop artist that sounds just like them. I heard a guy the other day sounds just like a Tupac. I'm like, man, where did you come from? And I'm just like, okay, well, if Tupac was able to sell millions of records and you actually sound just like him, I don't see any reason why you should have a problem because you're marketable. That's what the word marketable means. Marketable means similar or alike or I can relate to. So if millions of people like Tupac and are fans of Tupac, and you sound like him, you're marketable, then you shouldn't have a problem finding a fan base or building a fan base if you're producing good music. And that's where I always kind of come back to, is that it starts with the music and it ends with the music. But a lot of times what happens is people get so caught up in the politics and they say, well, I'm just doing what we call, and don't get me wrong, this is just, good music. But then what are you doing to counter that? If you've got good music, you got to have great marketing with it. Because if you have great music and not good marketing or bad marketing, then it won't be successful anyway. So you've got to make sure there's a proper balance there. So I hope that helps your listeners with that question.
Yeah. That brings us into the next segment real quick. So let's
You are listening to the Light of Las Vegas. This is the His Hop Radio Show.
Yes. Let's talk about the internet radio side of the CHH. We talked about an artist, how an artist can better position themselves. Now, how can people like myself better push the genre along? Because we know that it takes a village. We know that we can't just do it by ourselves. So we're trying to, with what I'm doing is I'm trying to create a platform where some of these artists can be discovered, where they can launch out into further things, and a place where they can come and feel like they're going to get something out of it. So how can we on our side better push this thing further?
Okay. Well, one of the things that I think we got to start with some of the foundational stuff. Digital streaming radio has grown dramatically. Obviously, it's been around since the mid '90s, and before streaming and all of that. And it was, there was podcasts, like kind of what you're doing and so forth. And then it's grown into its own world, mainly because of the independents out here, like yourself. There's a lot of people that are tired of the corporate politics of traditional radio. Well, there is no radio stations that will play this genre of music, or there is only stations that will only play these certain artists from these certain companies and things like that. So there's a lot more politics involved when it comes to terrestrial radio. But what that's done is it's given birth to what we love. Our heart and soul now is digital radio. Digital streaming radio is growing dramatically. What people don't know is since 2015, it's the #1 platform over Facebook for advertising. People are starting to realize that you can advertise on stations like Hip Hop, His Hop Nation, and get a lot more bang for your buck than maybe some of the terrestrial radio stations that you're paying $200, $300, $400 a spot. And you can have several spots. You can build your brand even more so by running multiple ads. So now your ad becomes almost like rotation, like a song. And what's happening is that a lot of brands and a lot of companies are starting to move more of their products, and they're starting to say, wait a minute, there may not be 10 million people listening to His Hop Nation, but the difference is that the audience that His Hop Nation has is a core foundational audience that's reacting, that's moving to that ad, that they can actually measure and say, well, wait a minute, when it comes to the dollars I'm investing, there's a return on my investment. So I think, to answer your question, a lot of it is exactly what you're doing, is you're starting to bring light to the genre. You're stepping out there and you're saying, hey, it's not just about your one station, His Hop Nation, is you're creating a network. You're trying to pull, and that's usually what the hardest thing to do is. It's to pull a conglomerate together and say we're stronger together than we are separated. And that's actually one of the principles that birthed DRT, is that we want to give a voice to the unheard. There's so many territories, people don't know this, Russia, India, most of Africa, most of Mexico, that they're playing a lot of music, a lot of great music by even some Christian hip-hop artists. but you will never know it because nobody wanted to give them a voice. Nobody wanted to monitor them. Nobody wanted to display charts to give them some kind of recognition and say, hey, wait a minute, that there's another voice out here outside of just the terrestrial radio that we all grew up on to say, okay, this is where new music is discovered. Well, wait a minute. Now you have the internet now. Now we're in what we call a global society. The music industry is global now. Anybody tells you it's local, they're not paying attention. If you look at any of you, I don't care what kind of artist you are, if you look at your analytics on Apple Music, Spotify, any streaming sites, look at yourself. It's global. You're going to find 85 to 95% of your streams are coming from overseas. Well, I'm going to say something here on this call. There's only two ways outside of, obviously right now with the pandemic, there's nobody going overseas doing shows and building their brand and stuff from a physical standpoint. So there's only two ways you're going to reach those people overseas. And how are you going to do that? Social media and digital streaming radio, like His Hop Nation. That's the only way you're going to reach those people over there.
Yeah.
So now digital radio has become even more valuable than it's ever been, especially through this pandemic. You've got more listeners now online than ever before. So you've got that, as well as you also have technological movements. Think about what I'm about to tell you. There's more than 125 million cars on the road that don't even have CD players on it now. They all have internet radio or digital radio now. I don't know what kind of car you have, but any late model car you have now, all my cars, they have digital radio in it. Hell, I'm a CD player, what's that? They don't even make them like that anymore. So you look at the technology, you have all the major airlines are putting internet radio on the airplanes. You have the smart speakers, the Google, the Echoes, the Google iPhones, iPods, all these different things. These devices that are coming out from a technological standpoint. And this is what's crazy. Who would have thought 20 years ago you can consume music from a refrigerator? Now they got smart refrigerators now. Now you can actually you can go play His Hop Nation radio. You can go play His Hop on your refrigerator.
Come on.
20 years ago that didn't exist. So think about what I'm telling you guys in your audience here, is that just technology alone, we're not trying to say we're doing something and want everybody to follow us. We're trying to actually keep up with the growth of technology here. So digital radio is becoming stronger and stronger, and where we saw there was a void in the industry, we called all our friends and all the companies, and we said, hey, are you guys wanting to give a voice to this thing? And they all said, no, we couldn't care less. It's all about terrestrial radio. And we said, okay, well, if you guys don't want to give a voice to it, and you guys are the voice, then we're going to try to do whatever we can to step in here and say, wait a minute, we don't care if His Hop Nation has 100 people listening or 100 million people listening. We want to help you grow. We want to help expose your brand. We want to help you bring listeners. We want to help teach you and help train you as best as we can with some of the tips and things that we've learned in the broadcasting game to expand your reach. And I can give you some examples of that. There's maybe some stations that are listening right now that maybe they're just streaming or broadcasting from their website. That's actually the worst thing you can do. Because what happens if your website only has 100 people going on it? Well, that's the most listeners you're going to have. There is so many online streaming hubs and directories out here nationally, globally, that you have to get your station listed with online radio box, TuneIn, internet-radio, radio.net. There's so many of them, Streama. There's so many out here, online directories that have millions and millions of people going on there and listening to your station. You're getting a lot of new music discovery as well as new station discovery. These are really important for building your brand. These are very, very important to expanding your reach. So you're now able to reach more people globally, and before you know it, His Hop Nation has 5 million people listening. They're like, how can you do that from Las Vegas? Technology now. It's wide open. So that's just a quick, simple tip that you can do to just grow and expand your listeners right now. And most of these directories are free to list. You just have to do the legwork. You have to fill out the forms. You got to send in your streaming links and so forth and get listed with as many of them as you can. That's a great free place to start. And then from there, as you begin to expand your network, where they always say expand your network to build your net worth, right? Yeah. So now what's going to happen is now you start creating the numbers that you need to therefore impact your bottom line. Now your advertising rates can grow. Now you're more attractive to sponsors and advertisers. You're more attractive to even artists and labels that want to come in and do promotions with you and so forth. So these are some real basic fundamental ways on how Digital Radio Tracker can help give you that voice, help you expand the voice, as well as affect your bottom line.
Okay, that's actually a great leading into my next question, because I do network with other radio stations on the His Hot Radio Network, and I reached out to them. I said, well, we got Mike on the line on the show. What kind of questions would you like me to ask him? And so one of the questions came up from one of the stations. Basically, what is the advantage of signing up with DRT to have their station either monitored or reporting?
So that's an excellent question. Well, like I said earlier, what it's about for us, it's about creating a community, about creating a voice. And the bigger the voice is, the bigger we can help build the brand. So somebody had to step out there and first of all say, hey, wait a minute. We don't have any skin in the game. We don't own His Hop Nation Radio. We don't own XYZ radio station. These are all you guys' entity. But somebody had to come in and say, hey, wait a minute. If we can pull everybody together, because we all know it's very, very hard for a lot of people to work together, right? I know everybody's got their thing, trying to build that network, right? So everybody has their personalities, everybody has their ways of doing business, and that's great. But what there has to be is a neutral voice, and that's where DRT came into play and say, okay, we'll be the neutral voice between the His Hop Nation and the XYZ radio and say, hey, wait a minute, you guys both may not be working together, but you both are trying to perpetuate the Christian hip-hop movement. So what happens is collectively, when you're both supporting a particular artist, let's say Lecrae, for example. Lecrae's new single is being supported by both of those stations. It then shows up on one DRT report, one Lecrae report. That label Reach is able to see all of the stations that are playing that song, how many times, what time of day, who's breaking the music, who's stepping out there, who's not, who's supporting, and so forth. So therefore, there is an independent, and that's what DRT is we're a third-party independent monitoring source, almost like an auditing company. So in other words, you don't have to tell your clients, or you don't have to say, hey, I've played your song 20 times a week. That artist can then get that report from an independent company that has no skin in the game and be able to prove or validate that you actually gave them 20 spins a week, whether it be for collecting royalties, whether it be for booking shows, whether it be to validate promotional campaigns and things you may be doing and so forth. So all of these types of things is where it gives you a benefit. The other angle is what we call the recognition angle. Everyone wants to be recognized. That's why everybody wants the Stellar. They want the Grammy. They want the Dove Award. These types of things is what we're all looking for, the accolade. We've arrived. We've made it. Our song is embraced. Our album is embraced by the industry, whatever it may be. So that's where charts come into play. And DRT has 9 main charts at this time. We've been in talks with several entities like yourself, His Hop Nation, where there is a void in the Christian hip-hop movement where people are saying, hey, wait a minute, there really isn't an industry chart, there really isn't a voice to say, hey, how is this song doing over this song? How is this artist doing over this artist? Is there a way to tie in what we just started doing at Digital Radio Tracker? We just launched this year certified plaques, where now artists that are getting recognized on the charts can then get, their label or management and talent agencies and things can then get plaques for them to say, hey, wait a minute, this is, display your success. Enjoy a lifetime of memories. That's what it's about. It's about, hey, you know what, I haven't gotten that Stellar Award yet, but I got a DRT plaque on the wall. I got something to show for my efforts, for my work, for my hard work, for what is going on, and I'm being recognized. And I think in time, and we love what you're doing at His Hop Nation. I think it's very commendable. I just know that you've got to work through things. It's very, very tough when you're trying to be a leader and stand out there and say, hey, wait a minute, we're stronger together than we are apart. It's kind of like a church, right? Everybody wants their own church. So there you have, you have everybody believing basically the same thing, but yet everybody's all over the place, versus if there was one minister and there was one big congregation. Imagine what that would be like. It's just, the problem is everybody wants to know who's that man in the pulpit. So it becomes more of a tug of war than it's about the message. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we always say it's about the brand. Why are we so caught up on who the messenger is? It's kind of like if I give you this example and I say, well, look, you got to check in the mail. D-Row, go check your mail. There's a check in it for you. Do you really care what mailman or what mailwoman brought it to you? You need to go check your mail and get the check. But you see, sometimes we get so caught up and we say, you know what? Was it this particular racial background male, or was it this particular female? What difference does it make? Go cash the check. And so that's how we feel about it. In building the movement, it's got to be about we all do our part. And DRT wants to do their part in helping with the voice, but we can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. That was actually one of the first things me and you spoke about in one of our early conversations. When you asked about the movement and so forth, I told you, I said, you know what, we've had a lot of inquiries, but there hasn't been anybody stepping out there in a leadership role to say, wait a minute, y'all don't worry about it. We got this. Let's put together maybe a top 20, a top 25 Christian hip-hop chart. Let's start somewhere. Let's start to build this movement. Let's get rid of some of the politics and let's say, hey, you know what? Well, we don't really like this guy too much, but you know what? He's helping build the movement too. Let's put all of us together and let's create that voice. And that's what it should be about, not individuals. It should be about creating a voice, a solid oneness for the movement, and then through that, hey, you know what? DRT says, let's give away some plaques. Let's put something together. Let's start recognizing some of the talent. Let's do some extra press releases. Let's get out here and stand behind some of these artists that are very, very talented that otherwise nobody would even know who they are and things. And that's why I'm sharing this with your audience here. We all have to find a way to work together, even if it means working with independent companies like a Digital Radio Tracker and saying, hey, you know what, man, D-Row, do your thing, I'm going to do my thing. But collectively, there's a unit in between us that's going to bring us together anyway. And it's all for the common goal.
All right. I love it. And yeah, my heart, I'm all about the unity, I'm a kind of a back to the Bible person, man, and I know that unity is always looked upon positively in the scriptures. It always blesses God's heart, when brothers work together.
That's right.
Not saying I'm perfect, I make my mistakes, but hey, that's where forgiveness comes in, right?
That's right.
Okay,
that's
so
right. None of us
question I got from one of the stations, they mentioned DRT versus the BDS, or can we say the billboards? Like, where do you guys work together at all, or do you guys is it two separate things that are entities that we're looking at here, or how are you guys related to them?
Okay. No, we're not. Nielsen, everyone's in their own independent company. There are friends, sure. We know people at Nielsen BDS, Broadcast Data Systems, for those that don't know what BDS stands for. They're owned by a parent company that also owns, an interest in Billboard and so forth. There's also another monitoring company out here. The industry is what we call the industry standards media base as well. And what these particular brands have decided to do is they predominantly monitor terrestrial FM radio in the top 200 metro markets. You have to have a certain amount of listenership, or you have to have what they call ratings and book ratings and things. So it's not just even about being I'm based in Houston, a top 10 market. My station can become monitored by Mediabase or BDS. Well, that's the difference between us, Digital Radio Tracker, and them, is that we don't discriminate in any kind of way. We're open to monitor all radio stations, terrestrial, digital radio, college radio, community radio, so forth. Whereas those particular companies, they're more focus-driven on when it comes to arbitron, like ratings. They're more driven into particular conglomerates of stations and so forth. Again, only in the U.S. whereas they do some of Canada and some of Mexico as well. But predominantly the difference is with Digital Radio Tracker, we're more affordable than any other monitoring company in the world, whether it's reports or whether it's monitoring fees. We also are looking at, like I said, we're looking at giving everyone a voice. So we're not just going to say, hey, if you're a broadcaster based in Russia, well, we don't want you. If you're a broadcaster based in South Africa, well, we don't want you. We don't do that here. We're open to everyone. We're also open to all genres of music as well. Yes, we focus on the big six, as they say, the main genres of music, the most popular ones, but with us, we're what we call the people's brand. We're rooting for the little guy, you know what I'm saying, the upstart, the new broadcaster. Like I said, if you only have 100 listeners, we'll monitor you. We're not going to turn you away and say, hey, you don't have the 10 million listeners that His Hop Nation has. You only have the one, and I'm just plugging in there. But that's what it's about. We don't discriminate in that kind of way. We believe in giving folk a chance, give you an opportunity to grow your brand, give you an opportunity that, hey, you know what, there's been many stations with us. They started off with 100 or 2 a week, and now some of those stations have 20, 30,000 listeners a week. It's grown dramatically. So if we would have just shoved them away and say, hey, you know what, no, we don't want to monitor you until you get to this level. And again, it goes back to my roots. No judgment zone. Why are we going to judge your station because you're a newer station giving a voice to Christian hip-hop? It's no, we're going to embrace you, and we're going to teach you the game, and we're going to try to help you grow your audience, grow your station, learn to monetize it to where you can be in business longer and help perpetuate the movement. That's ultimately got to be what it's about. People have been asking me for, DRT is now 10 years old, and people have been asking me, why did you do that? And you're putting millions of dollars into the technology, into the branding of what you're doing, and it's not about whether you have 1,000 stations, 10,000 stations paying subscription fees and millions of report sales. For us, it's about the voice. It's not about the money. It's about the opportunity. We want to create the opportunity, and we understand the price of opportunity. And most people look at, when they hear the term price of opportunity, they look at that as more of, well, what does it cost me? No, what we reflect as the price of opportunity is, what does it cost you to not seize the opportunity? What are you going to lose? And it's a different mindset. It's a different way of thinking. When you start putting yourself in the position, not why should I be monitored by DRT? It's what am I losing by not being monitored? It's a different perspective. And what it's about is, it's about understanding that there's value in being connected. There's value in building the brand. There's value in the community together. So think about it. Would you rather be by yourself on an island, or would you rather be with 5,000 people that can help you cook, that can help you grow, that can help you build your house, that can help you create your own world, versus you're on an island by yourself? And you have a lot of people, especially in the Christian hip-hop community, that feel they can be more successful alone. And with a lot of strong-minded people like myself and you, Damascus, is we say, you know what, we'll go over there and do it. Go over there and do it. We're not mad at you. Go do your thing. But understand, and what they need to understand is what they actually lose out on by doing that. Versus if we all find a way to work together and say, hey, we're trying to build something here. There's something bigger than any one of us. But it's going to take all of us to make it happen. So that's what we believe in, and that's really what separates DRT from a lot of the other monitoring companies, is just simply that, is that we're here to try to give you a voice. We're not here to just take your money and rip people off, and we don't care about your station. We don't care if it grows. We don't care if you're around tomorrow. We don't care if you're in a small market or you're in a major market. It doesn't matter. We're going to say it's a no judgment zone here. We're going to give you a fair shot. We're going to find ways to work with you. And just like with His Hop Nation, since we've connected, we're trying to find ways to build, to grow, and help you with the movement. And as you're becoming more and more established and more as we say, rooted within the broadcasting community, then we're going to challenge you and we're going to say, hey, you know what? You've got a grip of this thing here. Maybe you need to step out there and let's see how we can work together and put together that Christian hip hop chart. Cultivate that movement. Help create just a little bit bigger spotlight, as we say, on the sector that maybe some want to keep in the dark. So that's what this whole call is about today. It's about sharing information. It's about coming together. It's about finding out and continue to have open dialogue like this of what we can bring as added value. And that's what I close with this. Digital Radio Tracker is competition to no one, value for everyone. That's what we built here. That's what we want to continue to illustrate to the general public, that we're not trying to put anybody out of business. Sure, there's other monitoring companies. Take your pick. But what we want to do is we want to be the people's choice. We want to be that company that they say, you know what, those guys over there, they're fair. Those guys over there are not judging us. Those guys over there are not just focusing on one genre of music and not giving another genre of music some shine. They're saying, hey, look, we want to help grow. We want to help grow together. We want to build community together. And ultimately, that's what it's about for us. So again, we're added value. DRT is added to Nielsen BDS, added to Mediabase. So if you want to get a complete picture of what your song is doing at radio, you're going to want to get everybody's reports. And you're going to want to put them together and really see what's going on, because we all have information that the other one doesn't have. So that's to answer that question. And hopefully, I know we're running out of time here. Maybe we'll even have a part 2 in the future, because this is a great call we're having. There's a lot of good information coming out.
Yes, man. I want you to make His Hot Radio your second home, my brother. Anytime you want to come on here, you're welcome. It's an open door policy. I just want to thank you so much, man. I thank you for your heart. You shared a little bit about your background. You shared about your church, the ministry you're involved in. You've given some great nuggets to artists. You've given some great nuggets to radio entities like myself. Man, there's not too many people like you out there, bro. And I'm telling you, man, it's kind of like a dog-eat-dog world when it comes to this industry. And just to have someone like you on your side of things, helping us shining the light, say, hey, come this way, or guiding us through, that is much appreciated, bro. And it's not going unnoticed. And I just want to say from my heart, man, thank you, brother. You are a blessing to me, and you're a blessing to this whole movement, bro. So I just want you to stay encouraged.
Oh, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. And again, I'm saying it publicly here on your show exclusively, that Digital Radio Tracker wants to do whatever we can to support the Christian hip-hop movement. And at the forefront, we see His Hop Nation as a leader in that. And so I just want to publicly say, anything that we can do to help sponsor what you guys are doing, or help with the creative aspect, or help with the education aspect, such as doing these podcasts and so forth, please let us know. We're here to help, and we want to continue to see His Hop Nation grow, as well as the movement that you love and that you want to see expand throughout the whole industry that we all love. So I appreciate you so much for having me out.
Thank you so much, man. God bless you, bro. And we're not going to keep you hostage on here. I know you got a busy day over there running everything, so we're going to go ahead and close out right now. And if you have any last words, if you just want to shout somebody out, you sure can. If not, then I'll go ahead and close out the podcast.
Okay, well, I'll just end by saying, if you haven't had a chance to check us out, you can reach us at www.digitalradiotracker.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at Digital Radio Tracker. We've got a lot of exciting things coming. Of course, we're looking forward to getting out of this pandemic and things in 2021. I'm going to be coming to Vegas several times next year. We'll definitely have to hook up at His Hop, maybe even do something live at one time, and not doing the calling. So that'd be great. But we're excited about what's to come. There's a lot of things that we're working on that we can't quite let go at this time. But just keep an eye out for us, because we've got some big things in store. And through that, where we elevate, His Hop Nation and everyone else affiliated elevates as well. So, and that's ultimately what it's about. But we look forward to exciting things and working with you guys in the near future. And appreciate you having us out on the show.
Yes, no doubt, man. We are definitely supporters of DRT. Whatever you guys got going, we're behind you. We'll support you guys. And one more time, man, I'm glad you mentioned it before we got out of here. One more time, give us your social media so people can follow you.
Yeah, the social media is at Digital Radio Tracker. So it's at Digital Radio Tracker for Facebook and Instagram. At Digital Radio Tracker.
All right, make sure you guys support the family. Hey, they're behind this movement. They want to see us win. Hey, you don't. That's rare. You don't get that everywhere. Make sure you guys support DRT. Follow them. Check them out. Support what they are doing, and definitely we show you some love here on His Hop Nation. And make sure you guys follow us. His Hop Nation on Instagram. HisHopNation.com is the website. Make sure you download the app, the His Hop Radio app. We got a lot of stuff on there, a lot of content for you, musical blogs and everything. And also check out our TV streaming service, His Hop Television